Hello there, Roger Connect, president of Universal Accounting Center, and I'm excited to be here with Eric Johnson. Eric happens to be an enrolled agent, and we're excited to share his story as to his starting and working within the accounting profession and the journey he's been on. And first of all, Eric, thank you for being here and joining me for this conversation.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be wonderful. Now, one of the things that's quite fun is in my travels, I oftentimes attend conferences and go to a variety of events. And it so happened to be just recently I was at ProfitCon, and Eric was kind enough to notice and come over and introduce himself and basically shared that he had gone through one of our programs. So that was just a treat. That's Eric. That's just something that always happens, and it's always nice. So thank you for coming over and introducing yourself.
Hey, no problem. I was a bit starstruck myself when I met you, to be honest. So.
Next time I'll sign something for you. How about that? So what I'd like to do is begin with essentially your introduction to accounting. Really, what got you started within the accounting and tax profession?
Well, several years ago, I think 2010 or 11, I had a tax preparer who was working on my taxes, and she told me as she was wrapping up my taxes that I would have to find a new professional next year because she was going to stop. And so I asked her what was she going to do with her clients once she stopped. She said she wanted to pass her business off to either family or friends, but no one that she knew would put themselves in position to take over her clients. And so I asked what would she do if I put myself in position to take her clients. She said she would gladly refer them to me. So we leave that meeting. I was in E.M.T in paramedic school at the time, and I started looking for ways I could learn taxes. I came across Universal Accounting. I liked it. I bought the course, and while I'm on the ambulance, I'm in between calls, I'm studying taxes, and the course was great. I went through the entire thing. The IRS required us to take a course at the time in order for us to get our P10. I passed that course on the first attempt. Come to find out later that course was no longer needed, but it gave me the confidence to know that the course actually taught me the things that I needed to know. And so after I showed her the certificate of me passing that test, she gave me my first 20 clients, and that's how I got started.
I love it. That's just an amazing blessing that so few people can actually experience, where someone is presenting them the opportunity to really get started with that jump start like you had. That's just wonderful. So with your career change, what kind of drew you from being the paramedic E.M.T that you were currently doing at the time to wanting to become a tax professional and transition into that career? What drew you that direction?
Well, if I'm being completely candid, I'm just drawn to entrepreneurship as a whole, but I saw an opportunity and I acted on it. I became an E.M.T and paramedic due to the recession. I told myself that no matter what job I get, it would be recession proof. So I considered EMS to be that. And it was only meant to carry me for a certain period of time. So that very first tax season that I had, I vividly remember making more money in 1 hour in my spare bedroom than I would 12 hours on an ambulance. And ever since that experience, I was hooked.
Wow. Well, first of all, that entrepreneurial bug that you mentioned can be contagious. And at the same time, you're definitely sharing something that I think everyone can realize is in that 1 hour doing those tax returns, it was very, very profitable for you. So many people actually do just during the tax season what many people will actually earn in an entire year. So that's very well said. So I'm curious, now that you've been doing taxes for a number of years, what have you grown to love about the tax profession? What is something that you've really enjoyed and maybe are becoming fond of?
That's an interesting question, especially now in my career, because I am transitioning more from doing taxes to holistically helping small business owners. But what I love the most about taxes is, one, it's a very complex thing to learn because the tax code is a moving target. It always changes. And so even though that particular part can be aggravating, for true tax practitioners, that's actually job security. And of course, you and I both know this, the more money you make, the higher your tax liability. Every business owner or individual, anyone who makes a lot of money, needs tax advice. So we are critical parts of any financial team if they're really doing numbers.
Well, you're absolutely right. There is a barrier to entry into tax because although many people can obviously go out and offer tax services, you do need to be competent and know the tax law, which year to year changes and can be kind of intimidating for some people. So there is that unique group, that club of people that obviously are drawn to it and love it, and you're definitely one of them. So I'm curious, do you have a story you could share of something that you did to benefit or help a client of yours?
There's several. Which one can I choose from? Yes, the most recent one that I've done is a client who traditionally files on Schedule C. And her income was such to where she was paying tens of thousands of dollars more than in taxes than she needed to pay. And by knowing the tax code and studying my craft, we're able to make some adjustments that were completely legitimate and reduce her taxes by at least $40,000. And once you're able to help clients realize savings at that level, they will go to no one else. They will always come back to you.
That is an amazing story.
Yes.
Yeah, so in that example, how did she react when you were able to share with her that strategy in tax savings?
Well, she's one of my most loyal clients, and she's brought a lot of people just like her. So it's been a very fruitful relationship for her and for myself. So.
Perfect. I love it. So here's some great advice that I'd like to ask you for. You're speaking to someone that is considering starting their own accounting or tax business, someone that's considering offering tax services and pursuing this same career that you're now in. What advice would you have for them as they're getting started and beginning to take on new clients?
In the beginning, don't take on more than you can handle. Just grow slowly. It takes time. The tax code is deep, it's complex. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of changing parts. Don't feel like you need to jump in there and know everything up front. This is a trust-based industry. And so you want to develop trust early. And if you tell someone, hey, I don't know the answer, but I can look it up, they will respect that a lot more than, oh, I can do that, and you mess it up, and now they're getting audited and you can't help.
That is some very good advice. In fact, one of the things that I think is so true is as much as people may be drawn to the numbers and the code and such, that this is a great profession to be a part of, it is also still a people business. There is a trust element when someone is sharing with you these intimate details of how much earnings, how much money they're making, either professionally in the business or individually. And here they are basically putting everything out in front of you. Here's everything about me. These are my intimate details of my family situation, of my capital. This is all my finance. I mean, they're putting it all in front of you and trusting that you're going to be able to do the most with it to limit their tax liability. I think that trust it's huge. And so with that, you obviously have these recurring clients that come back and back again, because once you have that trust, they don't want to create that relationship a second time. They have it with you already.
Indeed. That trust there's no shortcuts to that part. You can have the best marketing, the best presence, the best website. You can be the smartest. If you can't get that trust, you will not have a tax business.
Well said. So let me ask you another question, and this is something that I'm really excited to have you share on. Let's assume you're speaking to a tax professional, an accounting professional that, like you, has established clientele and has been doing this for a while, but is interested in seeing what's new or next that they may be able to do in their business. And I know you're trying to move beyond taxes into more consultative type services. Tell us a little bit about this journey and why you're going down this path.
Well, one of the best things I've done recently, I'm a part of a nonprofit, and the board had the leaders of that group to take a Gallup Strengths Finder assessment. And I took the assessment and I learned something about myself on that. And one of the traits that I'm considered is a learner, meaning that we love to learn new stuff. It also means we get bored with stuff that we've already known or think we've mastered. Since I've started with taxes, I eventually pivoted to mainly business Of course, business taxes always come back down to personal, so you never let the personal go. But in terms of my personal growth in this business, dealing with small business owners, I've been able to not only learn the tax side of it, but also to learn how to structure small businesses, how to pay themselves. Actually, a lot of the stuff that we talked about during our conference at Profit, like now, with taxes being my, I guess, my beginning, where I'm at now is to be able to help business owners more holistically outside of just taxes. So at first, the conversation revolved around what's my tax liability or what's my refund? But now it's how do I pay myself? When do I pay myself? What records do I keep? Do I have to become an LLC or an S Corp or a partnership? And that's the kind of growth that I'm experiencing now. And so my clients are coming to me for more than just tax issues, for more holistic small business setup issues.
Very, very good. And so what advice would you give to someone who's considering doing more than just the traditional accounting and tax services, and like you are considering going into this more consultative type service? What advice would you give them?
There's two that stands out in my mind right now. One is to try to pick a niche. Don't try to service everyone. You want to get into a lane and be the subject matter expert in that lane, because as we said earlier, the tax code is so deep and so complex that it's, I'm not going to say impossible, but it's not wise, in my opinion, to try to master everything when it comes to tax code. So try to find a group or a section or a niche that you can really become proficient at. It's going to save you money, time, and headache. But I think the other thing is basically just an overall business philosophy, which is don't set your goals based on how much money you can make as a practitioner, but on how much you can help the people you're serving. So first see how you can serve, and then look at the money. If you look at the money first and then try to back into serving, you may find yourself the business that's not very fulfilling for you. It's going to show in the way you deliver.
Excellent. Well said. I like that. So when I hear that, I'm hearing that you're definitely passionate, but more importantly, you're engaged with the clients. You're definitely working with them with a sense of purpose, and I'm sure your clients can feel that. So here's my next question. With your past enrollment in with Universal Accounting Center, how did Universal Accounting help you? What was that like?
Well, I didn't need a lot of help once I got the program. I did make a few phone calls. I do not remember the details of those phone calls when I needed help, because any problem I had was resolved quickly. And I say that not because we're talking, but because it's the truth. You know how they say people won't remember what you said, but they remember how they felt. Mm-hmm. I remember feeling like whenever I had an issue, you guys were on it. But the program itself was so detailed that it laid out my entire foundation. I've been fortunate enough to actually train and mentor other tax professionals, and the standard I have for them is based off of what I learned in you guys' course, which is if you're doing a tax return, you need to understand every number on that return. And so I believe my favorite part of Universal Accounting would be the end of each module or chapter where you would do a tax return based on the model, and you get to take your answers against the answer key. And so it was that real-time application. And because I went through all those exercises, I can even still now basically do a tax return in my head. Just give me numbers, tell me where the sources of income come from. I know what questions to ask. I know what deductions to deduct. I know the difference between a deduction and credit, the difference between refundable and non-refundable credits, and just all the details that if you can't talk to me about what those things mean and how they apply, then you're not a tax professional. You just know where to put certain numbers in software. That is not tax preparation. That is data entry. And real pros will go through a program that will allow them to break down a tax return by hand. And after your program, I was able to do that.
Well, first of all, amen. I agree with everything you said there, especially the data entry part. We want to be beyond just putting in numbers. We want to be able to understand and see the correlation and what those numbers are impacting. So that is well said. So let me ask you this. Where do you feel the accounting profession, the tax profession is going in the coming years?
That is a great question. There's one camp that says AI is going to take over everything. And I do see technology filling in gaps that are currently not being filled in now. But not to get political, but Congress is going to always keep us in business because they changed the law so much that technology won't be able to keep up. All right. So for simpler clients, people who may just have a W-2 or other information returns, their stuff may be easier to prepare, but when it comes to small business owners and people who are really looking to build wealth around their own business skill or trade, we will never go out of style. They're going to always need us because the more money they make, the bigger their tax liability. And the tax code is set up as such to where even though business owners get some of the best tax breaks, if you don't know how to utilize them, you can end up paying more in taxes. So for that reason, working as a consultant around taxes will never be out of style. But technology is increasing at a rate to where there's no telling what all they can do eventually.
Very well said. Yeah, I don't see anything too soon on the horizon. There's definitely job security in the fact that Congress is continually changing the tax code, so that makes sense. It's more political than it is just doing simple mathematics. So that is great. So I've got two last questions. I'm going to ask this first and foremost. What advice would you have for someone who's considering enrolling with Universal Accounting Center?
Well, I hope you like to read. Whatever you put into it is what you will get out of it. So just purchasing the course will do nothing for you. I have a shelf full of books back there. I've read 60% of them. But all the knowledge in those books mean nothing if I don't study it and apply it. So if you're going to take the course, just know that it works, but only if you work it. But it's a solid course. If you take the whole thing, you will know taxes.
Very well said. And thank you. No, that's very kind and true. So here's my last thing. What advice would you give to someone in the accounting profession, someone that is either aspiring to be like you and achieve the successes you've experienced, or someone like you right now today who's looking forward to that next chapter in their career and may want to pursue something similar as to what you've done? What advice would you give to a peer?
Well, I hate to sound redundant, but it would be, don't go in it with a profit motive for yourself, but how you can actually help them. Put your client first. Put your client first, put your client first, put your client first. I can't say that enough. I know a lot of practitioners that go into it for themselves and it shows. And it gives a lot of us a bad name. So go into the client first. And I shouldn't have to say this, but I will. In the tax industry, there are a lot of opportunities to do the wrong thing for a quick profit. Just know there's no such thing as shortcuts. There's no such thing as shortcuts. Don't get fooled by it. Don't get tricked into it. If you find yourself thinking along those lines, you're not thinking client first, you're putting yourself first. So, but I think that's going to be true for no matter what industry you go into, you know.
That is very true. If you're in it for the long haul, you've got to make sure you're taking care of the customers. That is very well said. So one of the things that I'd like to just point out here is, as accounting professionals, tax professionals, what Eric's experienced is truly, I think, a common thing. It's basically going into it with the right attitude, with the client first mentality, with a desire to make a difference. And more importantly, he's willing to put in that hard work and actually do this for the long haul. And it's because of that that his clients recognize the services that he offers, and he gets the repeat clientele and the referrals that he does. But Eric, thank you. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished. It is after a great deal of hard work. I know that. But at the same time, I want to thank you for sharing these things that you've mentioned here today, just because I know that there's a lot of people listening that would like to actually kind of learn from you, and they're definitely inspired by you. The other thing I'd like to point out is after this video, I would encourage you to look down below in the description. I'll put some information there related to some of the things he shared today, so that you can go ahead and look up those things, such as he's mentioned, becoming a professional tax preparer. With all that being said, Eric, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I was thinking of something, but I was listening to you speak, and I'm curious about those links. I did want to say, over the years, people ask me how I got started. I always send them towards your course. Hopefully, a few of them have taken me up on that. But,
well, if not, they certainly will now. They certainly will now.
Indeed, indeed. I will say this: it is slow for me to spend money. I don't remember how much your course cost, but I do remember my wife and I really going into deep detail about whether we were going to do it or not. And we have no regrets about your course at all. Everything I've built right now with my business as it stands started with your course. And so thank you for building something or having a company that is still committed to teaching well and delivering good service.
Thank you, and you're welcome. Yeah, just remember this: if it's about accounting, it's universal, because business success, it's universal. So that's what we're here for. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening in. Thank you, Eric, and just have a wonderful day, because accounting success is universal. Take care and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.